Dudes, let's get the 411 on your favorite bets on the DK Sportsbook this weekend, starting with your favorite spread on the board. Sweet T. Fowler, go ahead.
I'll be the first one to say that I don't think dudes need their own day. But
what are you talking about? What are you talking about? We never get days.
Dads need their own day. Absolutely.
Yep.
But just men in general, I don't think so.
Hey.
But I appreciate it. I appreciate the
You're
call.
welcome.
Pearce is rolling his eyes. I'd love to hear his take. Maybe a different show. But my favorite bet is Green Bay. Green Bay now -1. Minnesota's getting some of their defenders back, gets Harrison Smith back in the secondary, and they look good, Minnesota, but when they play good teams, they usually play up. But this is Green Bay now. Green Bay's defense looks really, really good. They faced Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, and Russell Wilson over the past 3 weeks. Their combined stats, and this is from Field Yates from ESPN, 62 of 110, so it's 56.3% completion, only 1 total touchdown to 4 interceptions. So this defense, we always talk about Devontae Adams. We love A.J. Dillon in this spot because of what he can do, especially dynasty players in fantasy football. But Green Bay over their last 4 games against Minnesota are 3-1. Rodgers' TD prop is at 2.5. We'll get to that in a little bit. And the Packers I understand they're going to Minnesota, but this has moved down now. This opened earlier in the week at Green Bay -3.5. And a ton of people are going on Minnesota's side. I don't get it. I get that he was bad coming off of last week, Aaron Rodgers, but you're telling me after that game he's not going to come out here against a division foe and completely open the floodgates? Yeah, give me Green Bay -1.
Yeah, for sure. Vikings 1-7 ATS2 in their last 8 home games, Reid. So that kind of sets up Green Bay nicely to continue this strong pace. The best team, ATS in the league. Alan, what about you, dude?
I can't believe Reid is man-shaming. It's very offensive.
Seriously, Reid, what's going on with you, dude? Don't attack me.
Very, very. But that said,
I think that's specific. Why do you think it's about you, Everson? About me too.
Yeah, that's true. You are a man of international flavor, that's for sure.
That said, the Browns are laying 11 at home to Detroit. The Browns are coming off that humiliating loss while the Lions are on the road for the 2nd straight week after that tough overtime tie. We all love ties against the Steelers. The Browns should roll here with or without Nick Chubb, with or without Baker Mayfield. The backup running back, Dearness Johnson, would be a starting caliber running back on at least 20 NFL teams. And I actually prefer Case Keenum to a banged up Baker if that's how it goes. The Browns have been rolling. If the Browns had been rolling, this might be an upset danger look-ahead game, but with the way that their season is in peril right now, I'm laying the points.
Okay, yeah, we got Browns now, 12-point favorite at home against the Lions. Yeah, Pearce, what's your favorite spread here on the board?
Well, before we get to that, I definitely disagree with Reid. Not only do men deserve a day, we deserve a day every single week.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Every Friday. Dude's Day every Friday. And if Reid doesn't want to celebrate, that's fine. He doesn't have to. I wouldn't make Reid celebrate Dude's Day every Friday, but I'm celebrating Dude's Day.
Amen.
No, I thought Saturday was for the boys.
Amen.
Yeah, well, that's for the boys. We're talking about men.
Oh, God.
Okay? There's a difference.
Let's go, guys. Come on, guys. Let's go together. Let's stay toxic. Come on.
But I will agree with Reid. I like this Green Bay line. Green Bay's defense is for real. I know that they have the 24th rush DVOA, but there's a reason. It's because they leave their safeties back. They don't put a lot of guys in the box because they prevent big plays, and this defense is working out. So Dalvin Cook can have a really good day in DFS, and more power to him. But Green Bay wins games, and they win games with this defensive scheme. They've really impressed so far. I know Aaron Rodgers didn't look good last week, but he didn't get to practice last week. He'll be fine. Relax. Everything's going to be okay with Green Bay. I can't believe this line. If it's a trap, it's a trap. I don't care. I like Green Bay.
It's a trap. I see what you did there with the relaxing, right? That was his thing. RELAX a few years ago, right? Was that him?
Yes. Yeah,
Anywho.
That's it.
All right, great. Awesome. Alan, which total interests you the most here on Sunday?
Under 56.5, Dallas versus Kansas City. And I know that these are theoretically the best 2 offenses that are going to get tagged with the shootout of the week or the must stack and bring back on DraftKings. But Dallas's defense is actually good. And the Chiefs figured out against the Raiders last week that when a team takes that deep ball away with Tyreek Hill with bracket coverage, it's okay to punish them by running the ball and throwing some stuff underneath. I don't think this is a traditional punt fest, obviously, but more of a time of possession, chew the clock play for the under.
Okay, Reid T. Fowler, hook me up with the total that you have the most interest in.
Yeah, I think it's the Cincinnati Vegas game at 50.5. I think
Ooh.
it's overreaction to what Vegas didn't do right against Kansas City, what Alan just talked about. And that cover 3 for Gus Bradley doesn't really work out when you have some really good skill players on the outside. And that's what Cincinnati has, right? When Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, and mostly the first two guys, you have a good running back in Chase, or excuse me, in Mixon and Joe Mixon. And I don't think Cincinnati's front 4, especially their front 7, can put pressure on Derek Carr. That's what you need to do to get him off his base, get the Raiders off their game plan. They don't have the same interior like a Chris Jones and like the other types of teams that have put pressure on the Raiders and Derek Carr to mitigate this. This defense for the Raiders has regressed, has gone back. Even though they put the most pressure on the opposing quarterbacks with their front 4, I still think that this game is going to be shootout. I don't trust Cincinnati secondary either. I think they have some really good tacklers in Jesse Bates and Von Bell, but I don't like necessarily their guys and like Eli Apple. Eli Apple is the worst cornerback in coverage, and he's going to be up against either Zay Jones or Deshaun Jackson, so I expect big plays.
All right. Your Raiders have struggled to put up points over the last 2 games, Fowler. And it is an emotional roller coaster following Reid on Twitter as he live tweets these Vegas games, too. Pearce, which total catches your eye the most?
Chargers, Steelers. I'm going to go with the under here. I know the DFS community is fascinated, and just regular fans are fascinated with the Chargers. They've got some exciting players, but at this point, you've got to realize that they're not that good. This is not a good team. They're okay, but they're not nearly living up to expectations. They've gone over just 3 times this season. 2 of those they barely went over, so this could easily be a team that's gone over just once. And they're facing a Pittsburgh team that had plenty of questions coming into the season on offense. Now they're dealing with a lot of injuries. They've got a backup quarterback. It's already a team that kind of will already play slow and methodically to begin with. I don't see a lot of points coming from the Pittsburgh side. I know the Chargers every once in a while will show up and put points on the board, but Pittsburgh's defense is decent and can prevent the Chargers from putting up a lot of points. So I'll take the under in this.
Okay, Mr. Dietrich, in the year of the underdog, which one are you backing here in Week 11?
It's the Cowboys, and I can't believe that they're underdogs. Again, and Steve mentioned this the other day on the show, that this is the season of overreactions. And Reid was talking about this before the show. If this is just a regular game, or if this is a regular week, we're going to overreact to it being a regular week. And if it's crazy, we'll overreact again. Look at the Cowboys. People are still overreacting to that Denver loss. And it was basically just 4 plays didn't go their way. If 4 plays go their way, they win that game pretty handily. But yet the narrative is, oh, man, they should have lost 30-0. Yeah, that's true. They were getting blown out. But they were getting blown out because they just missed on a couple plays. And if you look at what they did last week, my narrative seems to be a little bit more accurate, that they lost to Denver because of about 4 or 5 plays. Because they looked really good last week. And they're facing a Kansas City team that's only looked good in 1 week.
Yep.
So I don't know what their overreaction is going to be, but if I had to pick, I would clearly take the Cowboys in this matchup.
Yeah, and I think most people watching probably know the Cowboys, too, have been one of the better teams to bet on this season as well, Pearce. 8-1 ATS, and we know how bad the Chiefs are in that department, 3-7. Alan, how about you, man? Underdog you like?
Seahawks at home are getting 2.5 against Arizona. I'm not sure why the Seahawks are underdogs at home with Kyler Murray iffy. And even if Russ is compromised, it's still Russell Wilson. I put my money where my mouth is on this one. And the other one was the Bears opened up as 5.5 point underdogs against Baltimore. I know that was bet down to 4 on DraftKings. The Ravens defense is pretty bad this year. And Justin Fields seems to have turned the corner in the last couple of games. I loved it at 5.5, but I still like it a lot at more than a field goal.
What's the latest with Kyler Murray, too? Are they going to opt to rest him one more day? I haven't seen any news on that. I don't know if you guys
mean, with
have.
the bye coming up
Right.
the week after, it seems like that would be the most plausible way to do it.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. Love it. Reid, hook me up, dude.
Yeah, and Colt McCoy, I think he has a pec injury as well, right? Didn't know that Colt McCoy had pec muscles to begin with. But anyway, I digress. Sorry, Colt. But I'm going Washington at +3. What's this love for Cam Newton all of a sudden? Right? I do not get it. And maybe Pearce can go back to when he was living in the Carolinas, and he can fill me in on we're anointing Cam Newton a top 10 quarterback this week, if you want to talk fantasy. We're anointing him the guy who's going to be better than Sam Darnold. I get it. anybody is going to be better than Sam Darnold has been for the Carolina Panthers. But let's not forget that this guy had 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions last year for the Patriots. A lot worse weapons when you talk about his skill players. I get it. But the offensive line is still a problem. It was a problem for Sam Darnold, and it's still a problem. Even without Chase Young on that Washington front, you talk about a coach now that knows all of what Cam Newton's shortcomings are, and Warren tried to hide them when he was in Carolina. I don't get it. Maybe Christian McCaffrey can do the Andy Reid punt, pass, and kick, whatever it is. But like, I just don't get it. His ADOT last year for Cam Newton was 7.6. And again, I go back to this offensive line is still bad for Carolina. This is his second week, his first full week as a starter, getting the ones. The reps are the ones. Washington just beat the Bucs off of a bye by 10 points. Tom Brady. So I just Washington +3. I get it. They've been bad, but I think Carolina, even though that secondary is nice and they apply pressure on the quarterback, I got to give the quarterback grade to Heineke over Cam Newton this one, and the coaching as well.
Nobody is more obsessed with Cam Newton and believes more in Cam Newton than Jeff Ulrich, too. Like we talked about the other day, Wednesday, on a Wednesday edition of the slate. What's up with that?
What Pearce was saying, too, like we're overreacting. And I've seen now that Cam Newton, all of these teams, 31 teams, are completely, or however many teams need a quarterback, are so sad they don't have Cam Newton. That's not the case. They've done their due diligence on Cam Newton. Cam Newton was a last resort for Carolina. And look, he's better than Sam Darnold, but doesn't take much to be better than Sam Darnold this year.
Yeah, and Ulrich will join us coming up later in the show. We will talk about the Panthers with him and a little friendly wager that we have made. We'll bring that to the forefront of everyone's minds watching. Alan, hook me up with a player prop that interests you the most.
As a long-suffering Jet fan, and I'm sorry that's a redundant term, suffering and Jet fan, I've learned to use the sportsbook to hedge my happiness. I pushed the button this week on under 225 passing yards from Joe Flacco against that aggressive Miami defense. If I'm wrong and Joe Flacco goes for 250 and 3, I'll be happy to give my money to the book. Take the under on 225 passing yards. The juice is -115 on DraftKings.
Yeah, speaking of another miserable Jets fan, Kenny Ducey will be joining us coming up in the show to talk some NBA. Reid, player prop that you like for Sunday.
Is that like miserable, he's miserable, or like he's miserable watching the Jets?
Yeah,
that's a rhetorical.
It's all the above.
That's a rhetorical. And tell Jeff, too, that Louis Oosthuizen withdrew from the tournament with lower back injury. Surprise, surprise. After I tout him, surprise, surprise, he withdraws.
Don't do it.
No. Aaron Rodgers over 2.5 passing touchdowns, I think I like. But the one I like a lot more is Deebo Samuel over 5.5 receptions against your Jacksonville Jaguars. Not great. And, I don't think Deebo's going to be handling the bulk of the carries in the backfield if Eli Mitchell is fine and we have Jeff Wilson out there. He's hit this number 2 of the last 4, and the 2 that he didn't hit, he got 5 receptions in those 2 games. So I like Deebo to go over 5.5 receptions.
All right, Pearce, hook me up.
Let's talk some more about some bad quarterbacks. Justin Fields, over 215.5 yards passing. We talked about him in the Monday night matchup. The over-under was 181. He went well past that with 291. Since Bill Lazor's taken over the play calling, they've lost 4 of 6, but Fields is starting to look better. And this is an interesting matchup for him. He's a deep pass quarterback. He's facing a team that's allowed ranks 30th in allowing plus 20-yard passes in Baltimore. You look at some of these stats for Baltimore. We've said it before. This defense is not very good, especially when it comes to defending the pass. And you look at depth of target, they're in the bottom third. They rank 32nd in yards after catch. They're 26th in missed tackles. All those things add up to the possibility of Justin Fields getting a lot of passing yards against this Baltimore defense.
Wait, Emerson, really quick, because I'm on the Baltimore side, and we were talking about this earlier, and I think this is pertinent for this. Like I'm on the Baltimore side a lot more, pretty good. That's my second best bet. We're talking about 10 days for Baltimore to prepare after a really, really bad loss to Miami. And Justin Fields is the worst in QB passer grade against pressure. And we see Baltimore give the second most pressure to Buffalo, right, in the NFL. I'm just a little bit worried, but I think this goes to more of what we were talking about earlier. I am so much on the Baltimore side, and both of these guys, Pearce and Allen, are so much on the Chicago side. I have no idea.